How is everybody? Good? All right. So what I was thinking before we get to Q&A, if it sounds good, do you all know the story behind the college tour? Do you guys all want to hear it? Okay. So if you haven't watched the show yet, please watch. It's great. Each episode tells the story of one institution through the lens of its students. It's so great to be here at Northwest Florida State College. About 4 years ago, my niece, she's from Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and she's trying to figure out where to go to college. She's a junior in high school at the time. I live in LA, and my sister, her mom, gives her one trip to go take a look at campuses. And so she decides to come to Los Angeles and stay with me. And so you can imagine being the uncle, taking my niece around. It was a super fun experience, and taking her to UCLA and all these different campuses to try to find her cultural fit and what's the right path for her. And so during that, I will never forget this. She's like, looks over, she's like, Alex, I want to go take a look at some schools in Florida and Texas and New York and pretty much every other state in the country. And I can hear my older sister like it was yesterday. She was like, this is your only trip. If it wasn't for your uncle in LA, we probably wouldn't be here. And that stuck with me, the idea that my niece, like 99.9% of, high schoolers out there just didn't have the finances to travel around and take a look at every college campus. And fortunately, this is what I do for a living, is make television shows, and said, how does higher education not have its own television series? And so that's how the college tour was born. And if you can imagine, obviously, the idea worked. This is episode 100, which is really cool. Yeah, and for television, this has all happened in the last like 2.5 years. That's like, where it's pretty extraordinary. So it's an honor to be here at the school. This is going to be a fantastic episode, and just learning about the culture and the students and the programs and the faculty has just been amazing. So that's kind of the story of the college tour, and here to answer any questions. Don't all raise your hand at the same time, please. Yeah.
So, what has been the response so far to the college tour? What have you heard from students that have watched the show? Has it made any decisions for students in terms of where they'll go?
Yeah. So if you all heard that, the question is, how's the impact been? So, a couple different ways I'll answer that. I'll tell the story of Izzy. So imagine now we created the show, and so instead of a piece of that story was after she would stay with me in LA, every week we got online, and that's where I was like completely overwhelmed. I mean, we have 2,500 universities, only 900 community colleges. Like, how do you possibly navigate that space? And so when we created the show, looked over at Izzy, and I was like, Izzy, congratulations. If you watch at the end of every episode, it says inspired by Isabel Paul-Nazik and millions of high school students. That's my niece. And so I go, now you have a television show to watch. So my job is done here. Watch the show. So episode 3 was Arizona State University. In that episode, we did a story on a young woman who had a full ride via the Starbucks program that they had. And Isabel was watching the episode, like I told her to, and she's like, I work at Starbucks. And so Izzy is actually now about to graduate from ASU on a full ride via the Starbucks program that she learned about from watching the college tour. And so that story, we hear that, stories like that all the time. And I think one of the best things to the college tour, probably the most emails we get, is we become the best friend of high school counselors across the country. Because you think about a high school counselor, probably underpaid, probably underappreciated. How the heck are they supposed to figure out the path for thousands of kids in their high school? And now the college tour is here. So I'd say the biggest thing that we hear all the time is, first of all, thank you for the show. But we've actually created now, there's a college tour class. And we take the segments from the episode, and each segment's about each story is about 2.5 minutes long, told by one of the students, and it's their real authentic story. If you don't know like how we even make this, it's like the first draft of the script that the student will be speaking. We have them write it because it needs to be their voice. It needs to be authentic. That's how real. We always say real students, real stories. And so these segments are put into the class, and that class has just been one of the biggest assets, for high school counselors across the country. So just for them to start thinking about it, and we break it down pretty simply. Obviously, there's a lot of variables to think about when you're trying to decide on this amazing decision of which college or university is right for you. But we break it down into kind of 4 key areas. One is location, which you all have. This is an amazing location. Flying in here, by the way, I felt like I was flying into the Caribbean. It was awesome. But location's a big important thing. Do you want to be in a big city? Do you want to be rural? Do you want to be beside a big, do you want to be in mountains? Do you want beaches? Do you want warm weather? Do you want 4 seasons? So we just get them start thinking about that, and then start watching segments of different episodes of different locations. And then we break down the college type, the culture of a campus is really important, and then of course majors. So I hope that answers the question, but it's been once again, it's funny because I'm a television producer. Over the last couple of years, I've been learning, the world of education, and it's like it's such a nice hand in glove, like that Hollywood and higher education would fit so well together, because each one of these episodes really is a co-production. Like, we're working here with the institution to make this episode. It's not like the college tour team walks in here and tomorrow there's an episode. It takes 6 months and probably 60 people from our team, and I don't know how many from your all's team, from the institution's team, to make this episode.
On what platform will it air, or where is it watchable, and when will the Northwest Florida State be active?
Absolutely. So the good thing about the college tour, everywhere, every episode is free. So the main platform is Amazon Prime. So we're on Amazon Prime. You can see that there, and even with Amazon, it's free on there. So you do not need to have an Amazon subscription to actually watch the show, which is really cool. Also airs on Tubi, thecollegetour.com. We have a streaming channel now as well. And I think our streaming channel is on like 14 different platforms. So the biggest thing for us is, like, really we want accessibility. Doesn't matter where you live, what your background is, where you come from. You can watch the college tour and learn about, travel around the country from wherever you're at.
How do you rack and stack? I mean, there's only 3,500 options for us to go to school, right?
Right.
So how do you rack and stack the first 100 that you've done so far in order to determine which ones you're going to go to first?
It's a great question. And our overall goal, we want to tell the story of every institution, because I think a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think in this world that sometimes higher education's being poked at, and that we're trying to be the ones standing up, because it's we need more students going to college. We need more students going on to university, because if you look at machine learning and AI and robotics down, and also to like the blue collar jobs, like, we need an educated workforce. Our society needs that. So the biggest thing for us when we attack, it's a great question. We want to be as diversified as possible. The simplest way I can answer that question is just to be diversified. We do stories on the big state schools, the small private schools, community colleges, trade schools. And so every season, I think if you look at it, it's just well diversified. So people are getting a well-rounded option from location, size of school, what type of institution it is.
With that in mind, what did you use to figure out our college, Northwest Florida State College, is the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. So our partnership, we have a partnership team that's always constantly, speaking to schools. So that team was speaking with you all for quite some time. And really, it's, like I say, it's a lot of people, a lot of things need to line up to make the episodes. A lot of it's timing and what's the right time of year, and do we have the resources? And so it was, this has been on our mind for a while, this episode, but it's taken a while to get to this moment. And then when it comes to the actual making, how do we bring the story to life? We do an open casting call, which is really fun. So every student, sometimes we have faculty and alumni part of it, but we do a full casting call. So everyone, every episode, every student at that university has a chance to be on the show. Now, obviously, we only get to choose 10. And actually, in this episode, there's so many great students that there's 2 segments with 2 people, which we don't often do very times, but really cool.
What's the best thing about Northwest Florida State College, do you think?
Yeah, where do I start? I'm going to put location up there really strong, because I think you're in Niceville, Florida, and you have this amazing backdrop, these beautiful beaches coming into it. But I think there's a couple like really cool things that you're going to learn about in the episode. We're going to talk about some cybersecurity. And I really think it's cool with the CHS, like the high school that's on campus. It's so cool that you're giving such a massive, the ability for people to have a head start in their careers. And I think if you combine that with the just hands-on learning experiences that are happening in each one of the classrooms that we've seen so far, is really cool, and just setting really the students up for success and to get real jobs that pay well.
This kind of that you came across that surprised you about Northwest or that was unexpected when you came?
I think it's the high school students that are doing both. I mean, when we were doing my stand-up out here this morning, that's what we just kept talking about. How cool is that? We've seen sometimes that even at my alma mater, you'll have like an elementary school. Sometimes, for whatever reason, sometimes you'll see that. But just having it embedded here, what an awesome opportunity for the students that get the chance to do it. That's something that is very unique that we haven't seen. It's really cool. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. Well, listen, thank you all for having us here. It's really cool. It's going to be a fantastic episode. It's about 2 months, so how it rolls out, it's really cool. So it's about 2 months from now is when the episode will be completed, and from post-production, it takes about that long. And then we call it a rolling launch. So this will go from there. You all, the institution will receive the episode as well as all the different individual segments. We do a couple digital series here as well. So that all gets pushed out. First rolls out through thecollegetour.com, our streaming channel, and then it gets batched into season 9, which gets delivered to the main streamers like Amazon and Tubi, etc. Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. All right. Well, thanks for all coming, and pleasure to meet y'all. All right. Cheers. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.